Good morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. The topic for today's tutorial is After Blenheim by Robert Southey. In your previous video, you have learned about the critical appreciation, style, and literary devices of the poem. Today, by the end of this video, you will be able to explain meanings of difficult words as used in the context of the poem. You will also be able to explain stanzas 1 till 5 in your own words. You will also be able to identify and understand literary devices used in stanzas 1 till 5. Before we begin further, I would suggest you to read the lines of the poem again and again for better understanding of the poem. So students, let us just understand what are the main points of this poem. Peterkin, a boy, brought home a human skull. His grandfather, old Casper, told him that it must be the skull of some person or soldier killed in the Battle of Blenheim. He further remarked that he also dug out many such skulls while ploughing. During the time of his father, the Battle of Blenheim was fought. Thousands of people were killed, but it was a grand victory of the English. Wilhelmine, Peterkin's sister, commented that it was a wicked thing. Peterkin wanted to know what good came out of the war. Caspar only remarked that he knew only that it was a great victory. He had no answer to the children's puzzling questions. Now students, open your treasure trove textbook at page number 17 and let's start reading stanza number 1. Before beginning with stanza, let us just understand what are the meanings of some difficult words of this stanza. Was done, was finished, or was completed. Sported, played, on the green grass. Let's start reading. It was a summer evening. Old Caspar's work was done, and he before his cottage door was sitting in the sun. And by him spotted on the green his little grandchild Wilhelmine. As we have earlier discussed the meanings of some difficult words, again here, meanings are marked in red for your better understanding. So students, here the poem begins with a very vivid scene of a summer evening. It is a time when most people return from work. In the first stanza, two characters have been introduced. One is Caspar, an elderly farmer, and other one is Wilhelmine. She is the granddaughter of Caspar. Caspar was sitting before his cottage door and near him was Wilhelmine playing in front of him on the green grass. So students, who is Wilhelmine in the first stanza? She is Caspar's granddaughter. Now students, open your treasure trove workbook at page number 50 and let's start reading explanation of this. The poem at once makes the setting of the story clear. It was a summer evening. Old man Casper, having finished his day's work, was sitting before his cottage door. His little granddaughter Wilhelmine was playing near him on the green grass. The situation described here is commonplace, familiar. Nothing is spectacular. The word spectacular here is used as an adjective that means nothing very impressive to see. So students, let us just understand what literary devices were introduced in stanza number 1. Metonymy. It is a figure of speech in which a thing or concept is referred to by name of something closely associated with it. Let us just understand the meaning of metonymy with the help of an example. The White House declared that we are at war with Mars. In this example, the White House is a metonymy for the president. After leading the rebellion, he seized the throne. The throne here is a metonymy for absolute power or the power to rule. So I hope students, literary device metonymy is clear to you. For reference, in the line, and by him spotted on the green, green refers to the grassland, meadows, as grass is green in color. Now look at your treasure trove textbook at page number 17 and let's read stanza number 2. Before reading stanza number 2, let us just understand meanings of some difficult words of this stanza. Roll, play by rotating or revolving something large and round. That means a large round human skull. Rivulet, stream or a small river. Beside, near. She saw her brother Peterkin roll something large and round, which he besides the rivulet in playing there had found. He came to ask what he had found that was so large and smooth and round. So here students, Peterkin enters into the plot with a large round thing in his hand. He doesn't know what the thing is. He has playfully picked it up from a nearby small river. Now look at your treasure trove workbook and let's read the explanation of this stanza. The little girl Wilhelmine saw her brother Peterkin rolling something that was large and round. Peterkin had discovered the thing by sight of a rivulet while he was playing there. He came back home to know what that thing was. So students, who is Peterkin over here? Peterkin is grandson of Casper. What he had found? Yes, the large, round and smooth thing. What that thing is? It is a human skull. Now moving further, look at Treasure Trove textbook at page number 17 and let's read stanza number 3. Before reading the stanza, let's just understand the meanings of some difficult words of this stanza. It, skull, shook his head, expressed sorrow by shaking his head. As students, you can see in the picture over here, a bunny is shaking his head. Natural, instinctive. Great victory, that means a grand victory won by the English over the French at the Battle of Blenheim in 1704. Expecting a reply. Bavarian. Blenheim is the English name of Blenheim, a village in Bavaria, that is in Germany. So that is why the inhabitants of Blenheim are known as Bavarians. Now let's start reading stanza number 3. Old Caspar took it from the boy, who stood expectant by. And then the old man shook his head, and with a natural sigh. "'Tis some poor fellow's skull," said he, "who fell in the great victory." Students, in the third stanza, old Caspar takes the round thing from Peterkin, and after a brief look of it, he finds it to be a skull of some soldier who died in the war. He also labels the Battle of Blenheim a great victory. Caspar believes the victory of the Battle of Blenheim is an example of sheer patriotism. Now look at Treasure Trove workbook at page number 50 so that we can read the explanation of this stanza. The old man Caspar took it from Peterkin, who stood expectantly for the answer. He looked at it, shook his head in sorrow and sighed. He said that it was somebody's skull. The person must have died in the battle fought at Blenheim. He called the battle a great victory. Being a Bavarian who sided with the English, he was proud of the victory won by the English. Now students, let us just understand what literary devices are used in stanza number 3. Repetition. Repetition of keywords and phrases is natural in a ballad. It is used to put emphasis on some idea or feeling. Old Caspar repeatedly describes the horrible battle as the great victory or a famous victory. This repetition brings out effectively the destructive side of war in an Aaronic perspective, as it is very much cleared from the last line of stanza number 3. Okay students, let us just understand what does Aaronic perception mean. It means whatever is said is opposite to its meaning. Like, battle is regarded here as great victory. But, ironically, it was not, as it caused death of several soldiers. Students, look at your Treasure Trove textbook at page number 17 and let's read stanza number 4. Before reading stanza number 4, let us just understand meanings of some difficult words of this stanza. Them means skulls. Plowshare means plowpin that cuts the soil. Slain means killed. Now let's read stanza number 4. I find them in the garden, for there's many hereabout. And often when I go to plough, the plowshare turns them out. For many thousand men, said he, were slain in that great victory. In this stanza, Caspar continued saying that he found many such skulls all over the farm while ploughing. This was because many thousand men were killed in the battle that was known for its victory. Now look at your treasure trove workbook at page number 50 and let's read the explanation of this stanza. The old man added that he found a number of skulls in the garden because there were many skulls scattered there around. When he went to plough in his field, skulls were dug out of the earth. It was so because thousands of men were killed in the Battle of Blenheim. He again referred to the battle as a great victory as it was something natural and to be proud of. Now let us just understand literary devices used in this stanza. Irony. It brings out the difference between what one says and what one intends or between reality and appearance. For reference in the line, were slain in that great victory. Here contrast is there as people were killed but it was a great victory. Now students, look at your treasure trove textbook at page number 17 and let's read stanza number 5. Before reading the stanza, let us understand meanings of some difficult words of this stanza. T means it. Wonder-waiting eyes means surprised or waiting for the reply. Now students, let's read stanza number 5. Now tell us what was all about. Young Peterkin, he cries, and little Wilhelmine looks up with wonder-waiting eyes. Now tell us all about the war and what they fought each other for. Students, here young Peterkin asked his grandfather to tell him the purpose of the war, while little Wilhelmine looked up at her grandfather with anticipation. Peterkin repeated that they wanted to know all about the war, what they had fought each other for. Now look at your treasure trove workbook at page number 50 and let's read explanation of this stanza. The young Peterkin got anxious to know all about the incident. Wilhelmine too looked up with keen eyes. They wanted to know all about the war and what they fought each other for. Let us now understand what literary devices have been used in this stanza. Alliteration. It means the close repetition of consonant sounds in a single line of a poem. Let's understand this with the help of an example. I have heard how hedgehogs hog the hedge. Students, as you can see here, in this example, repetition of consonant sound H is coming. Now see this example, students. Now tell us what it was all about. Now in this line, there is a repetition of consonant sound T. While with wonder-waiting eyes, in this line, there is a repetition of consonant sound W. So students, I hope all the 5 stanzas are clear to you. Your homework for today is to do the homework given in your SNAP homework. Thank you, students.